whatever, Rabbi Bochama, who you mentioned,
Yes.
About the smoke in the desert. He was referred to by the rabbis as the Baron von Munchausen of the Talmud.
That's
Baron
right.
von Munchausen.
Yes.
I think he was a real German, whatever it is,
Yes.
but he had a habit of telling tall tales.
Yes.
Okay, so the Rabbanim refer to him, probably behind as the Baron von Munchausen of the
Yes.
Talmud.
Yeah. But it's there are some say like the Robinson Crusoe. It's a bit like Munchausen. It's more parallel to this. But the concept, there's a principle with regard to the Agadot of the sages that most of them should not be taken literally. They have deeper significance. We know Rambam Baba Chona was a great Talmud Chacham. So therefore, if you look through the 29 episodes of situations which are explained by the Maral of Prague, by the Gaon of Vilna, by the Beis Halevi, as being symbolic. You can't take them literally. So, to recap, I'll just explain to you that all the episodes related in that, you see the perek is called Hamocha et Tasfina. Bava Basra deals really with questions of business ethics. So it describes the question, how does a person sell a ship or a boat? Hamocha et Tasfina. So they start describing many episodes that had to do with people who were traveling by ship and had shipwrecks and so on. Also the famous Daf Yomi. So Rameir Shapira, when he presented it, he also presented it in the light of the Sfina, the ship that gives us the opportunity to save our lives. Because so one of the sages says, I was in a shipwreck and it was about to sink, but then I grasped hold of a daf shel sfina. I had a board from the ship, from the boat, and I was clinging to this daf. Daf means a board, this daf also means a page later on. Daf shel sfina means a plank. So I was sticking my hands closely to this plank and saved my life. Because with this I was able, every wave that came on top of me, so I was able to float on top of it. Until I was able to get out of the storm, and I was saved. It says, this is the daf shel sfina, it is the daily daf. And it's very interesting. In his time, it took hold of many Jews. But there's never been a period when the daf shel sfina has become so widespread. Even today, the daf of halacha, which Yeshu introduced, it's also now got 50, 60,000 people studying it, and please also there's a group that's studying it. And I want to suggest that you should, when we started it here a few years ago, started the cycle, we were able to get the tests in English as well. So if you can't, if Rav Goldstein is not able to get them for you in English, you should ask Rav Waldman, whose daughter-in-law is one of the people who work in the office there. Maybe to get the tests in English, make it easier for you. That's the Dafshel Spinner. So, I'll just repeat it again. We'll try to understand the symbolic meaning and taking together some of the comments of the Maral on it and of the Beis Halevi and also of the Orach Mener. There's Minchas Oni, perhaps the most, it speaks a great deal about it. So, of course, there are certainly many of the episodes referred to here which refer to the survival of the people of Israel in the stormy seas that so often have threatened the lives of the people of Israel. The Rabbi Bochona said there was that Arab merchant who said, I'm going to show you the Blue de Korach, those who were swallowed by Korach. And you saw there were 2 cracks in the ground and smoke came out from it. So it took a stick of wool and soaked it in water, and I stuck this at the point of the spear and stuck it inside the crack. And brought it up and saw that the wool had become scorched. It hadn't become destroyed but scorched. So the merchant said to me, now go and put your ear at the cracks and listen to what they're saying. And they're saying, Moshe emet v'torato emet v'heim badaim. We have been deceivers, but Moshe is true and his Torah is true. And the merchant says to me, every 30 days, you say it, and in Gehinnom, they are swung around, stirred up, like one stirs up meat in a pan. And they say, Moshe emet, Torato emet v'heim badaim. So to understand this more deeply, I would say I'm developing a bit of something which perhaps is not mentioned directly in connection with this. When we look at it from the deepest and widest level, we've been discussing it, the question of the 2 cracks, that's explained by many of them, refer to the 2 principles which they had denied. And connected with this also another midrash which says that it says, B'nei Korach lo metu, in the Pasha. The sons of Korach never died. So first I'll give you a witty explanation, which nevertheless is not the simple meaning, but it's a famous and very important teaching. Because it says, V'lo yikra Korach v'chatoto. The lesson to be learned is that we should not be like Korach and his group, his party, for all generations. It's also brought the Horovitz in Shmiras Rosh that the person who strengthens any machloket, which not L'Shem Shamayim, he also transgresses, it's a real prohibition. Like the prohibitions of Lashon Hara, there's also a prohibition not to be mechazik and machloket. And some say it's the law of the Torah, some say basmachta, it's the law of the Chachamim. And we learn out you should run away from machloket, and this is, we can say, of great importance today. Because it also says in the Gemara that at the time of the Chavli HaMashiach, which has been our subject, the birth pranks of the Mashiach, Hashem will bring a categoria, which means arguments, bein Talmidei Chachamim. It's one of the most difficult tests. A person shouldn't think that like Koran, Talmid Chacham, that there's something working inside. The sages say, Kol hagadol mechaveru yitro gadol mimenu. The greater a person is, also in Torah and character, the greater is also the Yetzer Hara. Okay, perhaps he is able to overcome younger Yetzer Haras, but Yetzer Hara kavod, of pursuit after fame and glory, even fame and glory in the Torah world, it works inside. So a person thinks, well, I know a great deal. There are others, I've got my opinion, and there becomes a machloket. And underneath, inside, without even realizing so much consciously, but subconsciously, he feels it's very important. This, we find this going on here in Israel, even more than elsewhere in some ways, because there's more concentration of Jews, and Jews who feel a sense of responsibility for the Jewish people. And this accounts to a great extent, one analyzes it, to the strengthening of, let's call it today also, you don't find it so much amongst the greatest Gedolim, because it's very often they're really close together, but it's those around them. I mean, the sages say like this, Kol haboreach min hakavod, hakavod rodefet acharav. V'chol rodef achrei hakavod, hakavod urachat mimenu. If a person pursues vainglory and honor of any type, it goes away from him, disappears. So, and it's the other way around. The person pursues honor, the honor runs away. So there's a person who heard this repeated at the time of the Alshech, gave a whole Rosh about it. So one of the people who was on the Mizrach side of the shul, was an important person in the community, and he always, people used to give him the best aliyot in Shabbat, maftir or shish or shlishi. So he decided he's going to see what happens if he runs away from honor. So he refused from that time onwards to be the Baal Tefillah, or to be given an aliyah, or to have a position. He sat right at the back of the shul and tried his best no one should give him any honor. He did it for a year, and people ignored him. So he went up to the rabbi, and said to him, look, for 1 year I worked very hard. I used to be an important member of this community, this congregation, but I've decided I'm going to run away from honor. So therefore I tried out for a whole year, and people didn't take any notice of me. What happened? So he said, well, it's very simple. It's quite true. When you ran away from honor, yeah, then honor ran after you. But when you turned behind yourself and said, no, where's honor? The moment you turn around and look back, where is honor? So honor runs away from you. Because you turn behind your back and see, well, is the honor coming? That's what you're waiting for all year round. And that's why you never got honored. Yeah. Of course, it gets even worse. It's even Korach. The sages from Korach people learn. You see what happens. The person runs after honor, which he did, and he makes a huge party out of it. Then there's nothing left. And you know, here in Israel, there's such a ruach of machloket. I don't know if it's still so, but you know, in the early years when I was here, people made comparisons. They said there's no country in the world that has so many parties who want to get into the parliament by the ratio of the population. And that's even each group starts splitting up into other groups. And it's also said in the sages, before the Mashiach will come, one of the birth pangs of Mashiach is the spirit of categoria, that means of accusations, which will become into the life power of the people of Israel, even amongst the Talmidei Chachamim. And we're not talking about machloket like Hillel and Shammai, but really machloket like Korach against Moshe Rabbeinu. So it needs really, and that's why that is, I would say, the deeper significance of this episode of Rabba Baruch Hu. But taken together, the way in which it's interpreted on a deeper level. Rabba Baruch Hu, in most of his episodes, they all have to do with the future trials and tribulations of the people of Israel, and especially when we come to the birth pangs of the Mashiach, as you see from nearly all of them. And many of them are being fulfilled today. I told you that Dafshat Sfina is fulfilled today. That's a very positive aspect. And the Blue Korach, it also exists today. And especially according to this interpretation, that Korach, what was his claim? He came forward with the claim that's made today also by many. They say, okay, we accept the basic ethical principles of Judaism, we believe in them, some of the values, but we do not believe in the authenticity and the continuity and the solidarity of the whole of the oral tradition, which is led by the greatest Chachamim, because Moshe, in the Gemara, often the expression Moshe, Shapek Omer, is used for the Gedolei Hador, the greatest authorities on the oral tradition. And I'm following here the view, which is mentioned in the 17th chapter of Dvarim, that the essence of Torah Shebaal Peh, that should be the authority, is written in the Torah Shebichtav. It says in Torah Shebaal, when you have any dispute about any matter in Jewish direction which Hashem wants the people of Israel to follow, and they're liable to be different interpretations because Jews have been given, very much the power of individual thinking, and therefore different points of view are brought forward with regard to all the issues that face the people of Israel. So it says there, any doubt, then you have to go to the Bet Din HaGadol. You go to the biggest Bet Din, the Sanhedrin, and there they decide, according to the majority of the sages, you can say it's a form of intelligent democracy. Because the concept of Vox Populi, Vox Dei, which was spread already in the Greek concepts to some extent, even though it was also generally in Athens, decisions were made by the wisest people, and they didn't take notice of the plebeians, as they call them, the ordinary people, the hedyotim. So even there it was also a select group that made the decisions, both theoretical and practical. So the concept of just what's popular state, it often leads to anarchy, because first of all, it has also obviously no stability. Because if that's the whole concept of democracy, really it's often the source of the worst and most corrupt dictatorships and governments. Because if there are big demagogues and they speak to the vox populi and they offer them the things that people enjoy and like, ordinary people or even good, many people who don't have good qualities, so they're going to put a wicked person in charge, like happened with the Nazis, Hindenburg. I mean, that was how it was. The Nazis were elected by the people, and the communists certainly, also thought the people, but amongst the people were really the people who reached the top by vote were frequently people as big as demagogues, not the most pure people. But they could put on the face and so on. That happens in society. But the Torah says differently. Yes, achere rabben hatos. You follow the majority. So Korach's claim was, nevertheless, the people all reached a very high level. They all heard Anochi v'lo hilecha. We all heard it. We all heard the Aseret HaDibrot. Did it change us all? The answer is no, unfortunately not. There's some people who still transgressed on no tachmod. But the only one who really knows whether your whole base of life was based upon self-interest, on coveting that which belongs to others, which is the last commandment, but only Hashem knows whether they're coveting or not. No one else knows. And of course, Korach himself, his whole claim was they're all holy. We all reached the heights of prophecy and holiness. We're all a holy people. And that was his mistake. But he used this as a means to get public support, and it would even appear, if you go look carefully at the text, most of the people even supported him. And it's in wide, they even say like this, when Moshe, he is the only one who said, in Bria Yivra Hashem, I want to demonstrate whatever I've said is not from me. Aaron said nothing. Because Aaron said, maybe Korach is right. He's greater than I am. Korach wanted to be Kohen Gadol. Yeah, they realized that. And Moshe appointed him. But he said, maybe he's greater than I am. He was to be careful. He was the one who was given permission to carry the Holy Ark. And it says, if somebody carried the Holy Ark and he was a great sinner, he couldn't survive. His life went away. So he said, maybe he's greater than I am. So this was the situation. And we can say today also, you have this situation. So what we're taught here, don't think this was after all 1,000 years after Korach disappeared under the earth, but you should know that the smoke is still there. I suppose you could even find it today. That was the idea behind this. The smoke from the fire, the destructive fire of Machloket still exists. But there's another midrash which says that the sons of Korach, some of them in any case, when they went into the open, bottomless pit, as it seemed, of the Gehinnom, in which they were swallowed up, they had a thought of penitence. And therefore there was a certain rock on which they stood, and they were able to come out. Because you find Shmuel was descended from these Bnei Korach. And then Shmuel's descendants, they're called Bnei Korach, Lamatzir Bnei Korach. And even described, the Yichus even described clearly in Dvar Yamim. And they were amongst the best singers in the Beit HaMikdash, and even composers of some of the Tehillim. Some of them was developed from David HaMelech, but still, it's they who put it into words. So they did Teshuvah early. But even Korach, the Neshamot, you can say, of Korach himself, and those who did not do Teshuvah, the Gehinnom is constantly working to change them, to bring them back. So the two is this the concept of the two fires, two cracks which produce smoke, is the principle of the Nebuah of Moshe and the Torah. It says the Torah and the Torah of Moshe, which is a specific reference to the words that Moshe claimed he heard, which were written down, and those which weren't written down. So it includes the Torah Shebaal Peh. So we are constantly being taught by the suffering of the people of Israel, generation after generation, until the Mashiach, that concept of Rosh Chodesh is however far we've removed ourselves from the truth, the light of Hashem, that there's always a chance of renewal. Every month, as it were, there's a chance of renewal. That's the concept, that the turmoil of the people of Israel, which is like being stirred in a cooking pot. And if you want, there's also even such a similar description, some of the prophets, that the life of the people of Israel were constantly being stirred up. And that stirring, which is very difficult for people to take. I mean, often we're in life and death situations, and we have so many threats against us. But this in itself is a process of purification. Gehinnom is a process of purification. It's the way in which we become more and more purified until the time comes when we're able to get out of the Gehinnom. And if you make an overview of Jewish history, there's so much machloket, even in the Torah world, that it's unbelievable. So I'll tell you a personal episode. My grandfather, Mordechai Horovitz, he wrote a famous history called the Rabboni Frankfurt, by the rabbis of Frankfurt. It goes back 1,000 years. And it's the major work on all the rabbis who were in Frankfurt for 1,000, for the time of Shimon, the Chaber of Yalkut Shimoni. Shimon, it's also in Frankfurt. And it's a fantastic source. It was translated into Hebrew. And my father, Lava Sholem, from German, he wanted me very much to translate into English. So I didn't so much want to do it, because I thought, Hebrew people who studied for scholarship, fine, there are fantastic records there of all the Mamash Gedolim from the time of the Rishonim until recent times. And we know in the Frankfurt Old Cemetery, they were buried, like, many of you know them back, but Yerushua and parents of Chatam Sofer, Nosson Adler, and so many different great scholars, and the whole record, even of the matzevot of the old cemetery, they are an important source of rabbinic history. You come to more modern times, everyone knows the big machloket in Frankfurt between Rav Hirsch and the general community, between the Reform the haflo already, the shlo according to all my rabbis of Frankfurt. I didn't want to translate it, but there's so much machloket. There was so I said in English, since the history involves so many differences of opinion, better not. Anyway, meanwhile, when I came in, I published, something was published also by my father, Sholem, that one of the disputes which took place, difference of opinion between rabbis, and they put up a certain, in Frankfurt, a certain sheet, which was not printed yet. Then I put it put the Hebrew into the responsa of my grandfather. So I gave it to Rabbi Yashiv Zatzal, and Rabbi Yashiv said, it's very good, tshuva and so on, but you shouldn't have printed it. Because some of the expressions used there from some rabbis against other rabbis are very negative. He said, don't publish such things. So I felt confirmed, at least, that I didn't think it was so, perhaps didn't study the expressions too much. I thought this was historic interest in Hebrew. These are widespread discussions where people want to analyze what happened. We can't help it. There was such great machloka. Everyone knows Shabtai Tzvi caused a huge machloka. That's why in Frankfurt, for example, there was a time when they forbade the publication of any Kabbalistic works because of what happened with Shabtai Tzvi. Shabtai Tzvi based himself also on writing of Kabbalah. So they banned all Kabbalistic references, some people in Frankfurt. And this little break brought machloket. And even the Nosson Adler, who was big Makubal also, Rebbe Chasm Sofer, he had to leave Frankfurt because of its full time. So this is the fire of machloket, is what's represented by the fire that comes up from Sinai. And what happened at Sinai is the Midbar Ha'amim, it's called by Yirmiyahu. The Sinaitic period is not just a period for that time. It's a period, if Am Yisrael would have done Teshuvah properly, then when they went into Eretz Israel, they would have had the Mashiach, and would have had Geula, would have been then already, as apparent from the book of Dvarim. But since we didn't merit, so therefore we had to go into Galut again. And the Galut scattered all over the world. And there are many parts of the tribes of Israel that are literally under the ground in Sinai, because it all starts in Sinai. And this is the way in which the 10 tribes got lost. And then even those that remained were also scattered all over the earth. And this experience, as I mentioned, it's described like that in the book of Yechezkel, the book of Tehillim, that the Gezerah of being scattered all over the world is a repetition of the way in which we had to wander in the desert, where there was no real possibility of survival. Really Hashem helped us. And similarly, in the desert of the nations, there's also no possibility of survival, but Hashem helps us. Because as we hope today, and I don't even know what happened, I couldn't really believe it. You know, when I saw it before Shabbos, it said the last Shabbos they were going to make a demonstration in London and burn the Talmud.
4th of July.
It did happen?
No, it's planned for the 4th of July.
What?
It's planned for the 4th of July. 17th of Tammuz, thank you.
Shivos of Tammuz, they want to do it. And the government allows it?
Shabbat.
The government permits it?
That I haven't read what the government says.
In England, they should permit such a thing. When England helped the Jews so much, and they fought for the Jews and kept the British attempt and the Churchill to remove the power of the Nazis, and then later on others joined in. Who knows what would have happened to the Jewish people? And now they should be such a situation. It's unbelievable. And they're still planning to burn the Talmud.
Planning to burn the Talmud.
Yeah.
Aish.com's got an article on
What?
it. Aish has got an article on it.
It's called-
Aish
Yes, have what?
have an article about it.
Okay.
If you want to see downstairs.
Yes, I'd like to print it out for you. So let's hope that this is the deeper significance of now. Why is it wool? So this interpretation that wool, if it was only scorched, you say that, but it was since it's dipped in water. The water is a reference, according to some, the waters of Torah. The waters of Torah is that which allows the wool, which keeps us warm, and keeps strength to our bodies. The people of Israel are able to survive because of the waters of Torah. Because otherwise, they would be burnt up altogether. There'd be nothing left. So this is the concept of the evil of machlokas being like a spear that shoots down even from a secret source. The spear can shoot down and destroy other people and can create destruction. But since it's surrounded with wool, and wool is that which keeps the people of Israel warm and keeps us going, and if it's soaked in the power of Torah, then it will produce, it will still continue. So this is what we hope. It's also the situation today, despite all the threats, and unfortunately also all the attempts to destroy the Jewish people, that in the zchut of the purifying waters of Torah, although we get scorched, it will destroy us, and that all Am Yisrael will do teshuvah, and even if we've gone low in 1 month, but we also have the power of renewal, as described in Kiddush Levana, is the concept of the renewal of each chodesh. That the moon is there to reflect the light of the sun, so the people of Israel to reflect the light of Hashem to the world, and will continue to do so. However many times we have to, unfortunately, suffer, but if we will continue in this road of clinging to the waters of the Torah, ultimately the fire of Machloka will disappear and even will not produce any further smoke, and then we'll have the redemption, the rebirth of Am Yisrael in its full glory. Amen.